Hi guys and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay, I've got an article here that was done and I want to cover this because when I actually started to read this and think about it, I'll be honest with you, it actually kind of made me kind of angry, to be honest with you, and I think you guys will be annoyed by this too. So the title of the article is Applying Bitcoin's Peak-to-Peak Multiples on XRP Puts the XRP All-Time High at $24. Okay, so I'm going to explain what's the deal with this. So there's a guy called Jungle, you guys might have heard of him, he's a prominent XRP influencer, and he was basically doing some analysis on like previous bull runs with Bitcoin. And he's basically saying that if you apply what, Bitcoin's performance was and then put it in line with like XRP, not to say that XRP performed the exact same way, but the same type of trajectory, like following previous chart cycles and things like that, right? He's basically saying that XRP should be around $24 now. So the first thing I think I'd hear you say is, well, why isn't it at $24, right? So what he's basically getting at here is he's saying that he feels like the 2021 bull run that we missed due to the SEC lawsuit is what's basically stopped XRP from currently being at around these prices. Now, I do want to put some caveats in this, right? Because obviously we have got to acknowledge some realistic things about this, but this can actually go both ways, right? So, okay, we all know that we had the SEC lawsuit, right? And we all know that that impacted XRP's potential. Well, that's just a fact, right? Because, basically America was shut off from the whole market for XRP. There's obviously legal uncertainty, so a lot of people panic sold. So people who would have just continued to be holders of XRP panic sold and got rid of their holdings of XRP. That obviously added to selling pressure, and that also meant that we didn't have holders anymore, right? Because they was afraid of the future of the token. And obviously a lot of people who would have potentially have been investors of XRP wouldn't have took the risk, right? Because if they see there's a lawsuit going on and it could dramatically impact, XRP's future, then who's going to want to take that risk? Now, don't get me wrong, there are some people who might be, thinking about it legally and thinking, I'm going to take a gamble, I think they're going to be okay, so I'll take the risk in hope that it pays off in the future. Yeah, there's going to be some people like that, but the strong majority are obviously going to be concerned, right? Now, for example, me as an XRP holder, I had, some XRP before the lawsuit came in. I didn't sell. So, I was someone who, stood strong. But I'll be honest with you, I was nervous throughout the whole trial. Like, I didn't know which way it was going to go. I was hoping it would go the right way, but there was no guarantees, right? So I was taking a risk really because, Ripple could have lost that lawsuit. And if that would have been the case, then, XRP would have, I'm not saying it would have completely failed, but its absolute potential would have been completely stifled. It would have took years to recover. That's clear. But the thing with this is the damage has already been done. And this is why when I talk about this lawsuit, while yes, I do acknowledge that, Ripple won in the end on what matters, they did, the SEC still kind of won as well, right? Because they still managed to dampen XRP's trajectory, right? Like they still managed to stop the potential of what could have been XRP. So look, this is, as I say, applying Bitcoin's peak-to-peak multiples to get to where XRP would be at an all-time high. So here's the caveat, right? The caveat is, obviously, we can't say for sure if XRP would have followed Bitcoin's exact market pattern, right? We don't know that. So while we can say, yes, okay, $24, that's where it should be, etc., etc., it might not have got that high, right? We don't know. It could have underperformed, for example. We can't say for sure. We really wasn't in the situation to see it unfold, right? But that can work both ways, because what you could also say is it could be higher than $24, right? Like it could have outpaced Bitcoin. And this is the thing, what you've got to understand. You got to understand that when it was in the 2017 bull run, XRP did outperform Bitcoin. XRP was the strongest asset in the whole market cycle in 2017. XRP was the best performer. So it's very possible that XRP could have beaten Bitcoin again, and it could be way higher than $24. So yes, we can acknowledge that maybe it wouldn't have been $24, like maybe it would have been $20, $15 maybe, who knows? But it also could have been $30, $35, right? It could have been higher. So it goes both ways. Now, the one thing that I will say is, while we can't say for sure what XRP would have got to, I think we can all agree safely that it wouldn't be still around $3 and $1 that we're dealing with now. I think we'd all safely say that we'd be looking, way higher than this. And I don't want to put an exact number on it because I don't know for sure, but I think it's comfortable and safe to say we'd be way higher than where we are now. I think that's just obvious, right? And so this is where I do get frustrated, because I look at where we are in the market cycle now, and yes, okay, obviously Ripple won in the end, so the potential is still there long term, but we could be in a position where we'd already kind of cashed out some of our XRP at this point, right? Not saying all, because for me, for example, I never intended to sell all my XRP, but we could all be in a position where we'd had our run, and let's say XRP maybe got to let's go with the $24 or $20, whatever. And we could have all cashed out some of our XRP and made our life-changing wealth. And now we're just kind of okay, cool. The rest we'll see what happens for the long term. But we've made our money, we've made our life-changing wealth. So when you think about it from that perspective and you see what the SEC have done, yes, okay, they didn't win overall in the end, but the damage was done, right? David Schwartz also mentioned that they actually Ripple had a really big partnership that was in the works that they was about to sign off on just before the lawsuit got announced. And then they found out that it was going to be sued. So they told the company, because it was well, it's going to come out. So, we're going to have to tell them. And so the company were hey, we'll just take a back seat. You guys get this sorted, and then we'll get right back to it once you guys have got this over and done with. That never happened after that. It never materialized again. The company just stayed away. Now, David Schwartz didn't tell us who the company was, but he just said that in the end that deal fell apart. So again, that could have been a huge company. What if that was a massive company that would have been huge for Ripple and would have helped with the price action? Do you see what I mean? So there's so many things that could have happened with Ripple and XRP to change the whole way XRP was performing in the 2021 bull run. And if you think about it like this, XRP was the only crypto asset in the top 10 that didn't surpass its previous all-time high in the 2021 bull run. It's the only crypto. And what's the only thing that you can say about that crypto that was different from the other top 10 cryptos in that market cycle? It was going through a lawsuit with the SEC. That's the only thing that you can say. So does that make logical sense as to why XRP didn't hit a new all-time high? Because it was completely shut off from America, one of the biggest markets, and also it had complete legal uncertainty of what was going to happen for its future. It makes sense, right? And this is what I mean. So if we go back to 2021 and we didn't have the SEC putting that lawsuit on, what would have happened? Where would we be right now? And so that's where my frustration comes in, right? And this is why I say you guys will probably be angry when you hear this too, because, $24, I would be really happy with that. $24 XRP would be incredible for me personally. I know there's people who expect a lot higher, but, I'm trying to be more grounded with my approach to this. So for me, $24, yeah. And like I've said before, it's not like I intended to sell all my XRP anyway, so I'd only sold some of it. But yeah, definitely, if I had $24 XRP, would I have sold some XRP? 100%. To be honest with you, if I had a $24 XRP, I'd be comfortable at this point because I would have sold some, and then I'd be happy with the rest to just see what happens long term. But I'd have sold some to a point where I'm comfortable to see, I'm comfortable to sort my life out in ways that I want to, right? I'll be in a very comfortable position in life at that point. So at that point, it's okay, my main stuff's sorted now. I can wait and just see what happens long term. But we've been forced into this situation now where we've basically been robbed of true price action. And that's why I say with the SEC, yes, we lost the battle, but we won the war, right? So long term, yeah, I think we'll be fine. Long term, I think it will all pay off. But in the short term right now, yeah, we lost because we're not where we should be. And it has damaged Ripple. It's held them back. And that's why Ethereum has had a chance to surpass XRP as well. So when I see these things, that's what frustrates me. So yeah, I thought I'd share this with you just so you could see. And obviously with where we are in the market cycle at the moment, it's just one of these things where this could be a thing where XRP could be trading at $12, right? Because it's already hit $24. So it's, down to $12 or $8 now at this point kind of thing. that could be what we would be looking at right now. But we'll never know, right? We'll never know. It could have been higher, it could have been lower. You never know, right? So it's frustrating because I think we can all agree that it would be higher than what it is right now. I think that's the one thing that's safe to say. And we obviously was robbed of that opportunity. But hey, you know, we never know. In this next market cycle, maybe XRP can completely make up for lost time. Like when we look at what happened in the end of 2024, XRP was one of the only coins that shot up to like $3. And obviously it didn't maintain that, but I think some of that was due to market manipulation. But, you know, when we have the next run, it could be the XRP, like really, you know, that kind of coil that's being held back really shoots up and, you know, makes up for lost time. So fingers crossed. But yeah, thought I'd share this with you. Okay, I'll leave it there. If you did like this video, please remember to like, comment and subscribe so you can be updated for future XRP content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.